It had been 4 months since Jordan left. 4 months since she sat across from me at our kitchen table, eyes dry and voice calm, and said she couldn't picture a future with just an EMT. I remember how she tried to soften it, said it wasn't about status, just about alignment, but it was clear. She wanted more. More money, more prestige, more proof that her life was moving upward, and I wasn't part of that picture. My family said all the right things at the time. Vanessa told me I was better off. Dylan said Jordan had always seemed too polished. Even Mom chimed in with her usual blend of pity and optimism. The right person will love you for who you are, not what you do. It felt supportive, real even. Then came the group text from Mom just 2 weeks before Christmas. She said the holidays were going to be different this year. Tight finances, too many medical bills, not enough energy. We're going to skip the big dinner, sweetheart. Just keep it low-key. Maybe something in January, I called her right away, offered to cover everything. Food, gifts, decorations, even hosting it at my place. She brushed it off. You've done enough already, Tess. We'll make it up to you, I promise. I hung up feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I wasn't in the mood for a big family production anyway, but the holidays had always been Mom's favorite. Her excuse felt off, like she was reading a script. The next day, Vanessa sent me a text by mistake. Can you grab wine and those gingerbread things again? Same setup as last year. I stared at the message. When I asked what she meant, she replied, Oops, sorry, wrong thread. No explanation, no follow-up. Dylan didn't respond to my Christmas check-in at all. No merry early Christmas, no. Let's meet up anyway. Nothing. Silence from him always feels like a shrug. I tried to brush it off, told myself I was reading too much into things. People get busy, things change. Still, something didn't sit right. I kept thinking about that text, about the way Mom's voice shifted when I offered to help, the space between their words and what I knew in my gut. So I wrapped a few gifts anyway, just in case. Growing up, I was the quiet one. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I learned early on that saying it didn't change much. Vanessa sparkled always center stage, always praised. Dylan trailed behind with excuses made on his behalf like cushions. He's still figuring things out. He's just not built for pressure. I stopped expecting anyone to make space for me and started filling the spaces everyone else left behind. When Dad left, it was me who helped Mom reorganize the garage so she could turn it into a storage room and rent out the basement. When Dylan flunked 2 semesters in a row, I was the one who picked up shifts and sent him money for textbooks. And when Vanessa got the PR job in Raleigh and had to move in 2 days, I borrowed a friend's truck and hauled boxes until midnight. She posted a photo the next morning with the caption, "So grateful for strong beginnings. No mention of me." There's a picture on the hallway wall at Mom's house, Vanessa at her college graduation cap tilted perfectly grinning. Next to it, Dylan in a hospital gown holding Vanessa's newborn, looking overwhelmed but proud. There's no photo of me in uniform. No frame from the day I finished EMT certification, even though I was the youngest in my cohort and had pulled a drowning toddler out of a pool during my final rotation. When I told them about that call, about the moment I got a pulse back, Mom blinked and asked if I remembered to pick up dog food on the way home. I didn't go into this work to be praised, but there's a difference between doing something quietly and being erased for it. I was always the one who remembered birthdays, paid bills on time, sent thank you notes on behalf of the whole family. I thought it made me solid, grounded, useful, but lately I've been wondering if it just made me convenient, easy to overlook, the one who will always show up no matter what. I packed the gifts carefully, nothing expensive, just thoughtful, personalized, wrapped like they were going under a tree that never got set up. I told myself I wasn't going over there for any big reason, just to drop off gifts, maybe bring some dinner, make sure everyone was okay. Maybe they'd really decided not to do anything this year. Maybe Mom had just cracked under the pressure of bills and guilt and didn't want to admit it. Maybe it wasn't about me. Still, I chose the gifts carefully. A new watercolor set for Vanessa's daughter, the exact one she'd circled in a catalog back in October. A fleece-lined hoodie for Dylan because he always borrows mine when he visits and pretends he forgot. For Mom, I found a framed print of a vintage recipe card with Grandma's handwriting, one she used every Christmas for her cinnamon bread. I thought it would feel like comfort. I thought it would matter. I picked up Chinese food on the way, our usual backup for nights when things fell apart or nobody felt like cooking. It felt symbolic somehow, like bringing Plan B to a holiday no one had planned at all. The street was quiet at first, lined with frosted mailboxes and blinking reindeer lights. Then as I turned the corner, I saw the cars. Vanessa's white BMW was in the driveway, angled like it always is when she's in a rush. Dylan's Jeep was parked halfway on the curb. My aunt's minivan, my cousin's Civic, even the silver Audi my mom always says belongs to friends from church. Every single one of them there. I slowed down. The house glowed, light pouring out of the windows, flickering through the curtains. There were shadows moving inside, silhouettes, passing dishes, someone laughing. The front porch had a wreath. The steps were cleared of snow. I felt it in my chest before my brain caught up. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a celebration. Without me. I turned off the engine, sat in the dark with the food containers cooling on the seat beside me, and tried to breathe past the tightness in my throat. Then I saw her. Through the living room window, Jordan, standing next to Vanessa, laughing, holding a champagne glass. I don't even remember getting out of the car. One minute I was gripping the steering wheel like it could hold me together, and the next I was walking up the front steps, Chinese food bag dangling from my wrist like some pathetic holiday delivery person. Through the window, everything was bright. The dining table was set with the good china, the kind Mom only used for holidays and funerals. The centerpiece was lit with flickering candles, napkins folded into little trees like she'd learned from Pinterest. The tree in the corner glowed, ornaments spaced perfectly, not a single bare spot. The kind of detail she used to say only mattered when everyone's together. I scanned the room once and saw them. Jordan and Vanessa standing so close their arms brushed. Jordan tilted her head and smiled, said something, and then passed Vanessa a champagne glass. Vanessa laughed, her hand resting briefly on Jordan's elbow. Comfortable, familiar. My stomach dropped, a cold, hollow weight settling in my gut. They knew I'd see this. Maybe not tonight, maybe not like this, but eventually. They weren't hiding it. There was no shame in their posture, just ease. I stood there frozen, trying to piece it all together. When, how, why, my hand lifted before I made the decision. I pressed the doorbell. It rang out sharp, and just like that the sound inside shifted, laughter dulled. Movement paused. Mom appeared in the hallway, glancing toward the door like someone hoping to see a neighbor or anyone else. But when she saw me, her face changed. Not fear, not guilt. Something worse. Disappointment. She opened the door halfway, blocking the view with her body like that might soften the blow. "Tessa," she said, voice tight. "What are you doing here?" I thought Christmas was canceled. I said each word landing heavier than the last. "You said you couldn't afford it." Behind her, silence stretched out. Jordan turned her head. Vanessa stepped closer to her. Dylan stood near the fireplace, arms crossed. No one moved. Mom's hand hovered on the doorknob, unsure whether to close it or open it wider. "I brought food," I said, lifting the bag. "But it looks like I'm late." Vanessa reached the door before Mom could close it. "Tess," she said, like she wasn't sure if she was greeting me or bracing for impact. I stepped inside without waiting for permission. The warmth hit me first, the heat from the oven, the flicker of candlelight, the thick scent of roasted meat, and something sweet baking. Then came the silence. Heads turned. Conversations died mid-sentence. Jordan lowered her glass eyes, glued to the floor. Dylan looked at the ceiling like he was studying it for cracks. I stood there in my boots, holding a bag of takeout like a peace offering in a war I hadn't known I was fighting. "It came together last minute," Mom said. Her voice was soft, her tone measured, like she was trying to keep the story straight without tipping it too far in either direction. "Vanessa offered to bring a few things, and it just evolved. We didn't think you'd be up for it." I glanced at Jordan. She shifted her weight, but still wouldn't meet my eyes. "And Jordan?" I asked. She just happened to evolve into the guest list, too. Mom's smile wavered. "Jordan's still close with Vanessa. You two ended on difficult terms. We didn't want to make it awkward." "For who?" No answer. I looked around. The table was fully set, extra chairs brought in, gifts stacked near the fireplace. This wasn't last minute. This was planned, intentional. Then I saw it, Mom's necklace, the one I gave her last year. I'd spent weeks saving for it, picking out the exact pendant I thought would mean something. She wore it now casually, like a reminder of everything I'd given, even when I got nothing back. I turned to Dylan. You couldn't text me back, but you could show up for this. He shrugged without looking at me. I laughed once, dry and low. Right. Of course. I dropped the bag of food on the entryway table, each container thudding against the wood. Why wasn't I invited? I asked the room, not just one person. Just give me that. No one answered. The silence said everything. No one said a word, so I said it for them. You planned this. All of you. While I thought we were canceling Christmas, you were organizing a whole dinner, decorations, wine, dessert, gifts, and you didn't think to include me. Why? Vanessa stepped forward, jaw tight. You and Jordan were already done. Why would you want her here? I didn't say I wanted her here, I snapped. I'm saying I deserved to know. Vanessa crossed her arms. She and I have more in common, Tessa. She actually understands my life, my work. She doesn't just run into fires and call it a personality. That one hit harder than I expected. I looked at Jordan, but she stayed rooted to the floor, lips pressed thin. Not a word, not even a flinch. I see, I said. So this wasn't just convenience. This was preference. Mom's voice cut in gently, like it always did when things got uncomfortable. Tessa, honey, you've always been strong, independent. Jordan fits better with us now. Maybe it's time to let go. Fits better, I repeated. Fits better than the daughter who paid your utility bills last winter, who refinanced her own car loan to help you out after the surgery, who's been babysitting Vanessa's kid twice a week so she can keep her weekends. Dylan rolled his eyes. God, you take everything so personally. My hands clenched. You mean the time I covered your rent, or when you called me crying at 2 a.m., because you lost your job and I Venmo'd you my entire savings. The room got quiet again, but it was a sharp quiet. No one made eye contact. A glass slipped from someone's hand, I don't even know whose, and shattered on the hardwood floor. No one moved to clean it up. I took a step back toward the door. My bag was still there, untouched. The food inside now cold. I looked at the people I used to think I belonged to, my family, my ex all frozen in their shame or indifference. And I almost walked out. Almost. But something in me, something I'd spent years quieting, told me not to leave just yet. Not without saying the things I had kept locked behind politeness and obligation for far too long. I turned back around. By the time I got back to my apartment, the adrenaline had burned off and left a heaviness behind, more bone deep than exhaustion, more bitter than rage. I dropped my keys on the counter, kicked off my shoes, and sat in silence. No music, no TV, just the sound of my own breathing, too loud in a room that finally felt like mine. I pulled out my phone and typed the message quickly. No dramatic build-up, no explanation. You canceled Christmas, but kept the gifts, the help, and the silence. Don't call. Figure it out yourselves. I hit send, and for the first time in years, didn't care what they thought of me. I logged into every account they had access to, credit cards, joint bills, emergency contacts, and removed them one by one. Dylan was no longer authorized to use my Amazon Prime. Vanessa's babysitting calendar was deleted. I changed my emergency contact from Mom to my best friend Marin. She was the one who actually picked me up from urgent care last year when I tore a tendon on the job. Not family. Marin. The banking app was next. I canceled the auto payment that sent $300 a month toward Mom's utilities. That number had grown quietly over the years, starting as just for a little while and never stopping. I told myself it was the right thing to do, the loving thing. But I wasn't sure love should cost this much. I went through my contacts and blocked every number but Mom's. I didn't trust myself to cut her off completely, not yet. There was still a piece of me that clung to the hope she'd call with something real, something different than guilt or denial. But I wasn't holding my breath. The apartment felt quiet in a way that wasn't lonely. It felt new, empty in a way that made space, not pain. For once, I wasn't bracing for a phone call or a favor or a text asking for money disguised as a check-in. I curled up on the couch with the blanket my grandmother crocheted years ago. She was the only person who ever looked at me and saw someone complete. Not a role, not a resource. I turned off the lamp and let the dark settle in. The messages came slowly at first, a text from Jordan 2 weeks after the dinner. I didn't expect to see you that night. I'm sorry if it hurt you. I didn't respond. A week later, another. We never meant for it to happen that way. That was always the line, wasn't it? That way. As if the betrayal had been a scheduling issue. Vanessa emailed. The subject line was, "Can we talk inside?" was a stream of words pretending to be an apology. I'm sorry you felt left out. It wasn't personal. You've always been so intense about things. Like, the problem was my reaction, not their choices. Dylan texted next. No preamble. Just, do you think you could help me cover rent this month? I'm in a bit of a bind. I deleted it without reading the rest. Instead of responding, I spent my evenings updating my resume. There was a listing for a wilderness rescue medic position in Oregon remote terrain, fast response teams, unpredictable weather. It sounded like peace and adrenaline all wrapped together. I applied. 2 interviews later, I got it. Packing was easier than I expected. I kept what mattered: my gear, my books, the quilt from Grandma, the necklace Mom wore that night but never mentioned again. Everything else I donated. I left without saying goodbye. My new place sat at the edge of a pine ridge. Snow, deeper sky, wider air, sharper. People didn't ask what I did in real life. They knew this was real life. I wasn't the helper anymore. I was just Tessa. I adopted a mutt from the local shelter, Shepherd Park ? I named her Scout. We spent Christmas together. I wore flannel pajamas made Coco from scratch and watched the fire burn low without checking my phone once. There were no gifts, no tree, no tense phone calls. Just silence. Not the kind that punishes, but the kind that settles. The kind that lets you sleep. Scout curled up at my feet as I finished a book I hadn't made time to read in years, and for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel like something was missing. 6 months later, I stood in my kitchen watching steam rise from a pot of stew while Scout snored under the table. The house smelled like garlic and rosemary, and something that felt like home, though not the one I'd grown up in. I'd invited a few people from the team, 3 medics, 1 pilot, and a climbing tech named Rena, who reminded me that trust doesn't always have to be earned with blood. They showed up with mismatched Tupperware laughter and stories that didn't require me to prove anything. No one asked about my past. They just passed the bread and asked if I'd seen the sunrise over East Ridge yet. Above the fireplace was a small framed photo, me Scout, and the mountain behind us, the sky painted in orange and gold. I'd taken it with a timer one morning before a shift. I didn't look polished. I looked awake. Dad called every now and then. He never pushed, just checked in, said he was sorry again, that he was trying to do better now that the noise had quieted. I believed him more each time. I picked up sometimes. Vanessa and Jordan didn't last. I didn't ask. Why didn't care to hear? The damage was done long before their first glass of wine. Mom left 3 voicemails in the spring. I never listened past the first sentence. That night, I sat at a table I'd picked out myself, surrounded by people who hadn't asked me to carry their lives, but offered pieces of their own. Scout nudged my knee, and I slipped her a piece of bread. I didn't say much. I just watched and listened. Not because I had to, because I wanted to.